wondering if we could start with you, Cathie. Your thoughts on Ethereum and what's going on in the decentralized finance landscape and how that adds to the sound money value proposition that Bitcoin brings.
Yeah, I think we've been evolving our point of view on Ether. When we started our analysis, we were pretty much, and this was with Chris, Bitcoin was what we needed to understand first, but we were keeping our eye on all of the other assets, and we stuck pretty closely to the thesis, the FAT protocol thesis that Chris's partner Joel Monegro came up with at Union Square Ventures, which says that the value accrual will take place more at the currency level. And we believe there would be only a few currencies in the world, much like there are today. We thought Bitcoin would be the reserve currency, and we were looking for the other currencies. And Ether was showing up as a very strong second. And I have been surprised at how Ether and the Ethereum network is mushrooming with stable coins, NFTs, decentralized finance. It's clearly satisfying a huge unmet need. One of those needs is yield out there. And we see that in the fixed income markets, the ridiculous rallies that have taken place, taking junk bond yields down to just a couple of 100 basis points above treasuries. That's kind of nuts. So this hunger for yield is being satisfied by a much more efficient financial ecosystem. And I think many more people are more open-minded to it as well. Let's see. One of the things that has struck me from the beginning, and when Chris started at ARC, which was very close to the beginning of the firm, I remember saying very early on, follow the developers. Well, using that metric, Ethereum is off the charts, whereas Bitcoin is steady as she goes, still increasing, steady as she goes, but clearly Ethereum, decentralized finance, NFTs, have hit a responsive chord. I think bringing the creator community into this ecosystem is, helping it go a little bit viral more quickly than we would have expected.
So you guys are bullish then on Bitcoin, bullish ETH.
Yes, indeed.
I would add to, when ARC was beginning its investigations into crypto, Ethereum didn't exist.
Right.
If you go back to 2014, it was just an idea. When ARC first established its Bitcoin positions, Ethereum, the network, had just launched a few months prior. I remember, knockdown, drag out fights, arguments in ARC brainstorms. I mean, that's putting it too harshly, but contentious debates around the DAO in 2016. ARC is full of varied viewpoints, and I think that's part of its strength, right? Allowing everyone to express their viewpoints. But when the DAO happened in 2016, that was, at least for me, the catalyst of, oh my God, this thing just raised over $200 million from people all over the world. Yes, it got hacked. Yes, it's a disaster. But the fact that this happened is indicative of power, basically. And I would say that with Ethereum, in particular, because ARC dives so deep into the tech and wants to understand things through and through, Ethereum has had a lot of problems in a way in which Bitcoin hasn't. And so also as an at-scale investor, even though ARC is as risk tolerating as they come on the institutional side, the risk profile of Ethereum for a long time, I would say, wasn't suitable for ARC. and it's in the last year or two entered a sweet spot of suitability for ARC. And I think I've seen the whole team embrace that and say, okay, even though I'm not a explicit part of the ARC team, we're still in close contact. I see, a focus and openness to what's going on in the Ethereum space.
Chris will always be an important part of the ARC team, and his DNA is in ARC. I want to reflect on a meetup that you organized, Chris. Remember, we brought the Bitcoin and the Ether developers together, or investors and developers, in our first office, one of those startup offices. And Chris was preparing. He was thinking about how to manage the discussion so that there would not be a war. and what I remember at the time, as I was sitting there and I was listening to these developers.
This was late 16, early 17, just to place people. So like Ethereum was in decline. It was like at like $6 or $7.
$7. It was $7.
Yeah. Like we'd come off like the middle of 16 kind of frenzy around the DAO, sold off from like 25 to 7. Bitcoin was like kind of pushing up, and we tried to the focus was to bring Ethereum and Bitcoin together. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So, and what I came away with, I said, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is so interesting, listening to the developers, but also understanding there would be a place for both. This was not an either or. That was a bit of an aha moment. The DAO, Chris came in and presented the DAO at a brainstorm. And I was fascinated. I was saying, wow, that's pretty wild. But then there were others on the team who were just like pushing back and saying, this is going to blow up, and felt which it did. Felt vindicated when it blew up. But my experience in innovation is when you're onto something early, there are bound to be problems. And when it blows up is when you invest. That's when you really think about the investing. And I'll say, just in terms of Ether and the NFTs and the creator community, I was listening to one of Placeholder's calls, and they featured the CEO of Async Art, and I had never heard Async Art. I had never heard about this phenomenon at all. He starts speaking, and I'm on a walk, and I am smiling from ear to ear. I have not smiled that wide a smile since I first heard of the internet, just to give you a sense.
Wow. That's the impact that NFTs had on you. This idea of Async Art and what they're building on NFTs.
Yes. I was saying, oh my gosh, the layering, that sort of get the creators involved with this. This could go nuts.
And so, why? What did you see? What was comparable to the early internet, Cathie?
Just the awe of how new and differentiated, how a different way of thinking, a way to reward creators, which we've been looking for generations or forever, right? And this idea that you could have, a piece of art and then layer it and sell pieces of it off and have the underlying creator still get rewarded for, thinking up such an interesting idea. I just thought, wow, this is so collaborative. It is so collaborative. And that's where the world's going. That's how ARC is set up too, as being very collaborative and iterative in our thinking. And so that's what I felt when I heard the CEO of Async Art talk.
I think viewing Ethereum as and all of crypto as kind of a new capital coordination system is a powerful lens for this thing. And I want to bring Yassine into the conversation here as we're talking about ETH as an asset. And we're talking about valuation earlier. And it's always been this question of, how do we value these weird crypto assets that are coming down the pike? I feel like, Bitcoin got this valuation method based on a store of value, based on being kind of a gold.
That's a really good question. And quite honestly, I'd say that a lot of my thinking here has been inspired by what you guys put out. So there's definitely a back and forth here. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of how the market has really accepted Bitcoin, I'd say, as a digital gold since really 2017, right? When we kind of think about this, from an institutional pitch standpoint, it's like, the narrative for Bitcoin is pretty much set in stone. And it's kind of very easy to make the case for Bitcoin as an investment, but then by extension, kind of value the different opportunities.